welcome to Through the Smoke, the podcast where we talk malt and barbecue. My name is Athila Roos.
My name's Paul Sugden.
And I'm Shane McBagley.
And we're going to get drunk. Cool.
Well, I don't know if this bottle's big enough, Attila.
Oh, that's the pocket one.
That's just to wash down the others.
Yeah.
So shall we talk about our trip to the Isle of Mull and then after Drimmin and Ardnamurchan Peninsula, where we visited 3 pretty delicious and amazing distilleries. Well, the distilleries weren't delicious, but the whiskey was.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that was an epic trip for me. That was my first time going to any distilleries, and we kicked it off with our trip to Tobermory. So I'm very much looking forward to this because, yeah, out of all 3, this is one that really stuck in my mind as a highlight of the trip because, A, it was the first one, and they were so hospitable when we were up there.
Yes. Lynn, who looked after us, there was a fucking legend.
Yeah, absolute legend.
Oh, sorry. There you
You did it already.
the F word has come out, sorry. Not sorry.
It was a fantastic trip, wasn't it? I mean, even just the scenery up there, absolutely amazing. Like the joke of the trip was every time you stopped, you could take a photograph of the most beautiful place on earth. It was amazing. Yeah, fantastic.
That morning we kicked off with that trip over by the waterfall, and then to end at the distillery was just like perfect day, wasn't it?
Yeah. So first morning. We got Sunday night to Isle of Mull. The trip there was quite fun as well because as soon as I got to the ferry, there were a few drums that came out of the boot of the car, which was quite good. There was the really stunning Bonnehaven that you pulled out, and we had at the ferry.
I really shouldn't have thrown away the bottle because I still don't know which one it was.
It was a Monnier.
It was a Monnier.
Red wine, PX.
I think it was a PX.
PX.
Yeah, because
very sexy
I
stuff.
thought it was from our previous trip to Isla.
Yeah.
I think it was from my previous trip to Isla.
Yes.
I just picked the wrong one off the shelf,
Wow.
which is why I was a lot less in it than I thought.
It wasn't the wrong one; it was the right one.
Yeah,
It was
very
delicious.
That was like one of those peak moments. I think when I'm a fading old man in a rocking chair, that is like one of those highlight moments going on that ferry. The sun was like just so ethereal looking, setting over the Isle of Mull, and then tasting like best whiskies I've ever had. And that Bonnet like really stands out as one of the top drops I've ever had. It was so
cheating
good.
on Mull by having some Isla.
Yeah.
Well, it was before we got to Mull, to be
And
honest.
also, it was just, it was meant to be a highlight of the previous trip. So,
Exactly. Fair
So
enough.
good.
And it was quite funny as we were getting to Mull. It was beautiful and sunny and stuff, and Mull itself was just covered with a cloud and the weather. We're like, oh shit, we're getting onto the storm.
Yeah.
But thankfully we got there. It was dry. Had a nice little dinner, and then next morning, first thing we set off to is Force, which is the name of this waterfall on the northwest of the island. And then Shane beautifully set up barbecue by the waterfall, which was pretty insane. Just the landscape is ridiculous. And then sausages, bacon baps, and a little bit of octomore. So it was not a bad start of the day.
Perfect breakfast.
It was
Whiskey breakfast.
Brooklyn sponsored that, wasn't it? So it was the Octomore, and we had the one by the independent bottler.
Yes, exactly. You had the 14-year-old in a fresh port cask.
Fresh port
20
cask,
ports.
What a flavour.
Yeah, really stunning.
We
So
almost fell off a cliff as well. That was fun.
Yeah.
Because that sheer drop with that waterfall.
yes. I do not recommend it. If you see a cliff, do not go to the edge of it and try to take a photo. It's a stupid idea, especially if you have whiskey
I
around
was
you.
worried about one point when we dropped the barbecue and it started tumbling down the hill. It was going to end off that cliff. But,
Well, at least it was a barbecue, not you. So.
I do feel like at some point I should highlight, I feel like out of the 3 of us, I'm probably the closest to a complete novice around whiskey. So a lot of these things that I've been trying are completely new to me. And you guys have been to loads of distilleries and tried like hundreds, probably thousands of bottles. And I always grew up sort of drinking bourbons, which now I'm finding a little bit more one-dimensional and kind of boring compared to Scotch. But
you've been
it's really
fully
exciting now.
exposed to it. So it's also a discovery explosion in a way.
Yeah. So I feel like in a way I'm almost with the audience
outsider.
in learning along with the potential viewer.
Yeah,
here.
it's true.
So Yeah.
And perhaps just to explain to the viewers out there. So Shane is a barbecue pit master, originally from San Diego. But he's not just any barbecue pit master. Oh, he's my one. Yeah. No. So Shane and I met because we do events in the shop once in a while. And last year, was it November, December last year?
Yeah, November. We went to the World Food Championships in the States and took third place in the live fire category. So that was pretty good.
Not too shabby for a first go at the championship, coming in third place. Right.
I was happy with that.
Yeah. Well done.
Hopefully going back again this year. So
yeah, good.
Yeah.
And you're gonna get some inspiration, some liquid inspiration.
Exactly. Might have to pair a drink with each course.
Exactly. That's
you get
not
a
a bad
special
idea.
space because you've won before. We've been a top 3 before.
They don't really have.
No.
No, it's kind of a first come, first serve on where you set up. It's just like everybody inside has these very professional Food Network looking kitchens, and then the barbecue area, you have to like bring your own gazebos and sink. It's basically in the car park outside. But, yeah, it's still fun. Like loads of people have all these massive custom grills where they're cooking huge beasts and stuff over, and then I definitely felt like the underdog because my wife and I showed up with 2 little kettle barbecues while everybody else has these massive fire pits and teams of like 5 chefs. So.
Yeah, but it showed that it's not the kit you've got, it's the skills you've got. So.
Yeah, and they did have a whiskey sponsor there, which lent us some bottles for one of our recipes, which is the one that got us into third place. So
there you go.
Nice. Yeah, nice tie in there.
So you have to soak your meat with some booze, not just yourself, but the one you're cooking to get to go well in a competition. Okay.
A little bit of liquid courage goes a long way.
Exactly, Dutch courage. Well, shall we start about when we went to Tobermory? Well, first day in Isle of Mull, we went to then Tobermory distillery. Shall we talk about how it was at the distillery itself? Talk about Tobermory, what they do. Well, Tobermory, Lechake, and what they do.
I mean,
You mind kicking it off?
And one of the few things the thing that hit me straight away was I was expecting this massive distillery. I'd never checked, but you go to other distilleries and you kind of drive up and you've got these barrels all in front of it, and you've got this massive building and all the warehouses at the back. And we got to Tobermory, and I thought we were in the wrong place.
Yeah,
because I got there and I was like, well, where's the rest of the distillery? What's going on?
Yeah.
It's on like quite a steep hill.
It
You
is.
really realise a lot of it's kind of up behind it.
yeah. It's just basically a sizable building against a cliff, against a pretty stony hill, which is crazy.
Yeah, but they didn't have really any warehouse or anything where they were aging on site.
The joke of that Lynn also said, it's welcome to warehouse number 1, and you look around and you've got a dozen barrels around you, and that's what they've got in there, and 3 or 4 odd barrels that you get in the distillery exclusive releases, such as this one, and that we taste from. And of course there is the steel house, but there is no warehouse in there. They age everything inland, and then bring it back in whenever it's time to bottle something fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
it's just like having it's like half a distillery.
Yeah.
But the fun bit, and it was fantastic being there as well because they were obviously doing a lot of work on site at the time we were there, so they made a bit of effort to let us in, and so I was really really grateful for that. And some of the casks we tasted were some of the best whiskey I've tried.
Yeah,
it was
agreed.
fantastic.
yeah.
I confess that my expectations of visiting Tobermory were not particularly high, and perhaps thankfully, not just to that, but thankfully to Lynn and the team at the distillery, it was my expectations were massively surpassed. Of course, it was one of the best distillery tours I've had. Some of the best whiskies I've had too. Yeah. Actually, yesterday I cracked open that Lechake.
Oh, the
27-year-old, 1998, which
unreal.
Lynn told us, which it was done in an old style that they don't really do. It was over 100 ppm, refuel sherry cask, stunning. It has gone into my top 10 best whiskies to date.
He when I was cooking for everybody, sort of at the end, he passed me a glass of it and like didn't say anything about it, and I was like. Just about to neck it, and then like sniffed it first. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to take a minute and enjoy this."
Yeah. So at Tobermory, they do 2 different types of whiskey. They do Tobermory, which is unpeated malts, and Lechake, which is heavily peated. If I'm not mistaken, Lechake is 40 ppm.
changed. I'm sure they said it changed over time. So it
Yeah.
started about 35, and it's gone up a bit since then. I think that was the conversation. I can't remember. I'm sure he said it was about 35
Yeah.
ppm. He did say some batches were more heavily
Higher
peated
than others, yeah.
Yeah.
And well, whilst we were at Tobermory and we tried a number of delicious drams in there, we tried 4 different whiskies. It started with a 20-year-old Oloroso, which Lynn said he didn't have full information of whether it was a first fill or refill cask or anything. When we all tried, including him, we were like, yeah, it's definitely a fresh Oloroso cask. It was unreal how delicious that was. Then we followed with this baby, which is a 17-year-old cigar hogshead, a red wine cigar hogshead. Basically, that's a type of barrel that is slightly shorter and a bit longer, doesn't have such a curvature. And it's a slightly wet cask as well, which made it dirty and delicious.
This and the 27 were like the 2 highlights of what we tasted there for me. But yeah.
And then we followed with a 2003 Muscat cask, which was slightly unusual because I think they had taken out, 4/5 of the barrel, and they got to he mentioned that they got to a level that they started to have bits at the end, a bit of sediment and stuff. So they were like, we can't really bottle it as is, but we cannot really filter it. Well, we can filter, but then you have to say that it's filtered, which is not the same. So basically, they just did the cheap version, decanted into a massive jug, out with a muslin cloth, and filtered out the bits, and then rinsed the barrel, put it back in. So they cannot sell the remaining bit of what's in the cask. So technically, it was bottled at 20 years old into 2023, and then whatever's left over in the cask is what we were then tasting. So for the last 2 years, gently aging peacefully, but filtered in that cask, and it was really fun and spicy and fruity and crazy. And we did a tasting with Len, and he was saying, "This is for me is summer, like an evening dram. This is summer and very floral and stuff." And it was right.
I remember it tasting like almost a little bit like Pimm's with like a lot of strawberry and maybe not strawberry, but like lemon and
fruits and things just to give that brightness to it. Yeah, really fun.
It was odd actually, because when I first tasted it, I actually borrowed another glass because I tasted it. You guys were loving it, and I was like, I'm not sure I like this. Like I loved the first 2, got to this one, I've gone, I'm not sure. Not sure it's for me. And then borrowed another glass to when we moved into the 4th one, and then came back after the 4th one. And I don't know if it was the smokiness from the shade coming back or whatever, but I was back there again. It was lovely.
Well,
chameleon. Pimm's in a glass.
Yeah.
It's a chameleon dram. And then we ended up with he poured out the liquid, and it was much lighter than the very dark Oloroso Muscat and red wine casks Tobermory we had, and he pulled out this much lighter, like gold colored. As soon as I heard the first sniff, I looked at Ben, who was there a few minutes, thank you. I looked at Ben and I was like, oh, this is what makes me happy in my pants. And it was, I had no idea how old it was, what it was, other than this is a Lechake because it was a peated malt. And then, the first sip, it was just mental, and it was, for me, it was a 27-year-old Lechake from 1998, peated at over 100 ppm, that's what Lynn said, which is a style that they don't really do nowadays, in a fully aged and refill sherry cask. And for me, that was total whiskey porn. It shot up right into my top 10 whiskies. I may have bought a bottle and opened it yesterday, and it was fucking delicious.
One of my regrets from the trip was not buying a bottle of that. Like, you get back and you're like,
I had a few of those. Like, I was so, because I had a limited budget and I didn't want to spend it all with the first distillery we went to, thinking maybe the next 2 we went to would have something even better or even the same level. And that was by far like the best dram that we tried at any of the distilleries. But
well, it just means that you guys have to come to my place.
Wow, fine. I was having a chat with Bella about something. I can't remember what we were talking about. She'd asked a question and I was explaining it to her. And like sort of halfway through me talking, the conversation going backwards and forwards, I tried it and it stopped the conversation. I was like, oh, oh, that's really nice.
Well, and we're going to be trying from that beautiful little tasting the 17-year-old red wine cigar hogshead.
I've been looking forward to this since we left.
So this baby is a distillery exclusive, or
It actually smells like the warehouse.
two left in the shop, and 3 left of the 20-year-old Oloroso at the distillery and Holy Spirit. Sorry, not sorry.
I think the thing I took away most from those trips is like, you know, I liked whiskey loads before, but when you go and see the places where it's made, like there's so much about the flavor of the place. Like when I smelled that, the first thing I thought of was like, that's what the warehouse smelled like, which links to your sort of memory. But it is like the provenance of where it's made, just like in liquid form. And I'm interested to see how it tastes when I'm not at the distillery in the beautiful landscape surrounding it.
Cooking scallops, barbecuing scallops and pork loin at front of the distillery, and having 20. Didn't we have the 27-year-old Tobermory, the Hebridean series as well?
Yeah.
No, we did not have that. No, we didn't. Oh, cheers, boys.
Cheers, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Yeah. I think what's really crazy about when you go to the distilleries is obviously we kind of started off with the cask tasting at Tobermory, and I've been to quite a few distilleries now, and I kind of wish I'd done cask tastings at every single one, because it's just a different experience.
Yeah.
Like you start at an incredibly high level, and it's normally picked to impress visitors as well. So it's normally really well curated, and it's always blow your mind stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
the other thing I found was like, because at Tobermory they started with the new make, which was something I'd never tasted before. It was almost like an epiphany moment where suddenly I felt like I was really able to unpack so many different layers of flavor, and like what's coming from the distillate, what's coming from the barrel, and what's coming from the peat and stuff like that. It was just it was really, really eye-opening. It was such a well put together
some sort of way of desiccating or deconstructing the whiskey, so by the time you then taste the final product, you can see what has imparted flavor in different bits of it. Sure.
Want to explain what new make is?
Yeah, sure. Well,
okay. So
go for it.
actually, one of my things from the trip was I've been trying to get every distillery I see to sell more new make. I think people would buy new make and drink it, especially the sort of.
It's like what Pachin is, isn't it?
Yes. So new make is basically the unaged distillate that all the distillers will begin with. So you've malted your barley, you brewed, created a beer, sour beer, and you put through 2 distillations, and at the end of it you've got your 70-odd% spirit at the end of it, which you then generally water down to, or get a cut between low 60s and
62,
high 60s.
66, something like that. Yeah.
And that's what goes into the cask, but it's a clear spirit, it's unaged, and that is then what a new make is, which is what we had.
Yeah.
Oh, the Lechake new make, the Tobermory one, we've tried.
We had
Nicknean as well. And we did Nicknean. I can't remember if we did Ardnamurchan.
We did Ardnamurchan.
Okay, well, we did all of them. We did Nicknean.
We did Nicknean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really expected new make just to taste like vodka, you know? I wasn't expecting the range of flavor that is in that fresh out of the still. So
you really get the fruitiness they talk about for the fermentation times.
Yeah.
So like the distilleries say they use a long fermentation or special yeast and bits and pieces. You always find that those in the new make that fruitiness really comes through.
Yeah.
And you can see that if you have it straight afterwards, you can see that base flavour just coming through. It's a bit easier in their standard releases at 40%.
Yeah.
Because when you go into the cask, you've got so much of the flavour like bouncing around as well. But yeah, it's fun.
The imprint of the distillery or the distillate onto the bottle. It's quite fun.
Because they were all cask strength ones we tried, weren't they?
Yes.
Because sometimes you get new make and it's been watered down. I think Highland Park do that. I think it's theirs.
He asked if we wanted to put water in it, but
Yeah, no, it's great. It's good without it. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a bit like kind of mezcal, tequila-y type. Some the drier ones.
I would say that that's probably the closest thing I would compare it to, because in my mind, those are some of the only white spirits that have like a full round flavor to them. Whereas, I mean, I guess there's gin, but that's all added after the fact, isn't it?
Boiled in.
Yeah, but like white rum and vodka, in a blind tasting, I don't know if I would be able to tell the difference between rum and vodka.
Well, the poor quality ones all taste like shit.
Yeah.
It's just cheaply made spirit, isn't
Yes,
it?
yeah.
This is you're talking about.
If it is cheap and tastes cheap, it's because it's made like that.
Yeah, these guys are putting. If you imagine the production levels, they are putting so much more care into this white spirit than the vodka producers are, because they're just trying to sell a vodka at 40% to however many people. Whereas this is a spirit that's going on to be aged for maybe up to 30, 40, 50 years.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. Well, plus, and well, relating to the name of the podcast for that matter, through distillation, through the smoke, you recapture the spirit of what you began with. And the idea is that you are literally getting the essence of, in this case, barley or peated barley. And that spirit, which is what it's called, it is literally a concentrated version, very much like the distillation make is very much the same process that you make in perfume. Actually, even the word perfume comes from Latin parfum, which is through the smoke, hence the name of the podcast. Through the smoke, you recapture the spirit, the essence of what you began with. So it's quite fun to see, especially as we go to the distilleries, you can literally see the imprint of each of them into the whiskey itself.
Yeah.
It's quite fun.
Yeah.
Well, shall we? Well,
I've already
we've had a few sips. So shall we talk
It's
about
actually just as good as I remembered it.
Yeah.
I thought a lot of it was going to be like specifically tied to being up there, but it still holds. It's got like a really sort of like jammy flavor to it.
Yeah. I tried this with the guy head chef at the Black Horse, and he was just like, I'm still in that bottom. It was a very, very
So good.
guilt trip to me about not being able to come on the trip as well, by the way. That was...
Yeah, I love it's well, one, it really smells of the barrel in a way. It also smells a little bit like a dunnage warehouse. You know, the warehouses that have the earthen floor, lots of barrels, lots of the wood spice, a little bit of the expansion of the spirits, and which you can smell in the air. Let's talk about this dirty boy.
Well, that's the thing. So you talking about that earthy flavours that smells, I totally get all those, but you try it, then all this fruitiness, dark, rich fruits will come out, like those raisiny kind of, like possibly a little strawberries in there, something like that.
There's something like dried flowers, a slightly floral character to it as well.
Yeah.
And then when you smell it again, you get this really bright red fruit kind of flavours on the smell, as well as that mustiness. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it is stunning. On this bottle at 57 ABV, cask strength, as it should be, unfiltered, no messing around, just the good stuff.
On your sort of grading scale, what are you guys putting this on?
I might have to...
Hey, you're great and stuff.
We've got fairly similar grading scale, it seems, isn't it? But
yes, I believe so. So, well, for me, basically, it's if it's below 5, you don't even need to rate. You just discard it and cook with it or give to the neighbors. If you don't like your neighbors. So basically, for me, a 7 is not the mid bit. A 5 is scoring from 0 to 10. A 5 is whiskey.
Yeah.
You get a glass, you drink it, it's whiskey. It does the job of being whiskey. It's perfectly fine, palatable, but you don't necessarily want another glass. Yeah. The moment that you drinking and you're like, oh, okay, well, what's this? Oh, this is nice, and you kind of want to know what is it because it's actually pleasant. Oh, then that's a 6. If you're having something and you're like, oh, no, second, and you stop and you smelling and it's like, oh, okay, I want to know what the bottle is because you want to buy a bottle. That's a 7. if it doesn't matter how busy the setting gets, and you go and you smell something like this, and you forget about the busy setting because it's then your moment with that glass. And not only you need a bottle, you probably need 2 or 3. That's an 8.
Yeah.
9, it gets to crazier territory. You will, you sell stuff so you can buy whatever bottle you are looking into, even if it's more expensive, as it was that literally 27-year-old. You're like, oh, I'm gonna break the bank, but I need this. You need to have that in your life. Makes life better because it's out there. That's a 9. 10, you will forget appointments. 10, you will it can be as good, if not better than. I don't know.
I think 10. You only get to a 10 when you're in the atmosphere. Like everything's got to hit, hasn't it? You've got to be in the right place with the right whiskey at the right time.
I don't think I've had a 10 whiskey yet. I had 9.5s. In wine terms, as that's my main background, and it's been for 20 odd years. I've tasted over 40,000 bottles, and 6 bottles would have been given a perfect score of 10. So yeah, it has to be, it's transcendental. It will make time and the world stop around you because you're having that, and life is better because that bottle exists. And yeah, that is a 10. So 10 is transcendental.
I've got an idea for our next episode.
Go and find the 10s.
No. We get a whole range of bottles and make sure they're all 5s and lower. make Athila rate them.
Oh, thanks. That's a nice episode.
Blind as well.
Or decant them into amazing bottles. And this is amazing. What is it? Bells.
Can it drop below 0? That's going to be the point of that episode.
I think the hardest thing with a 10 is it being a 10 next time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's a place.
This was something I was quite conscious about coming back and trying all these whiskies we had up there, because so much of it is about, the period and location and being present while you're having it. And, when we're at the base of a waterfall drinking Octomore, that's like peak location, isn't it? Very hard to replicate that anywhere else. If you're in your living room while you got some kids screaming around you. Well, I don't know, that's quite nice sometimes. Is
it? Yeah,
it's not quite as nice as the waterfall, though, is it?
No.
I think, it's not about that trip, but when we went to Campbelltown a bit ago, I discovered Hazelburn. And so Springbank, Hazelburn, and Longrow, all the same distillery, and Kilkerran, but that's kind of. And I'd never been a big fan of Hazelburn. Went up there, and it was the best thing I drank in my life.
Yeah.
Like, it was 9s, 8s, everything I tried. I brought it back, and to this day, I'm still disappointed. I haven't got back to that peak. And so for that particular whiskey, for me, being up there with the sea air,
Hazelburn tastes better in Campbelltown.
That's it. Yeah.
On our trip, there was a bottle that I felt that way about when we were up there. That it was, well, I wouldn't say it was one of the best whiskies, but I thoroughly enjoyed it when we were there. And when I got it back home, I was like, it's okay.
Yeah. Well, it happens to a lot of people when they go to Provence, south of France. They go there, they drink some rosé, and they're like, "Oh, it's the best thing." Yeah, so they're playing pétanque, having tapenade, grill some prawns and a barbecue, and having a great time and drinking rosé, thinking this is the best thing. And then they come back to Blighty, and it's shitty weather and grey and
freezing outside.
And then you open a bottle of rosé, it's like, oh, it's shit. It's not. It doesn't taste the same. Wow, it doesn't taste like the place you were. There is a bit of that. Well, but this thankfully is drinking deliciously well.
This one is
today, and it's
definitely held up to my memory. It was so good.
Still one. I think I gave it an 8 on the trip. I think still probably easily an 8. Might be an 8.5 or a 9.
Yeah.
Just because every time I come back to it, I'm like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I'd say that this is good solid 8 for me as well. Yeah.
I would probably rank it higher than an 8 if it wasn't for the cost of it.
I see that. So for I think Attila's the same thing, but for my system's almost exactly the same as Attila's.
Yeah.
But mine is no cost involved.
Yes.
Okay.
Because as soon as you start
whiskey.
putting cost involved, it gets so subjective and so quickly.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've got a couple of 9s on my list that are probably over £600 to £700 a bottle now, and you're like, I'll never get one of them again.
Yeah.
So I can't afford it, and so if I rescored it now with cost in it, it would probably only be maybe a 7, because you're like, it is amazing, but it's not.
Yeah, but you won't sell your car to buy that bottle.
Yeah, is it? I mean, this was about £175 pound a
Yeah.
bottle, I think, up there, and he's got a
60
cheap.
in the
He's
shop.
got a cheap. I had to pay more.
Only 2 bottles for now.
And you think, well, this is 175. This is really good. Is that worth missing out on 6 bottles of this? Probably not. So you've got to leave. I have to leave cost out of it, because otherwise it gets.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
You almost.
Also, it changes over time. So I've got my list. It's got about 600 whiskies in it now. Of ones I've probably tried double that, because I'll be on nights where I'm not putting it into the list and all that kind of stuff. But if you imagine some of the prices then, the prices now have changed.
Yeah.
You know, some of them have doubled or tripled in price. Literally, the bottle price has doubled. And then now, would that have changed my score? Because the MRP's changed.
Yeah, I mean, that is a fair point. Maybe I should rethink my factoring price into it. But
I get an asterisk in mine now.
Yeah.
It's a buy it.
Yeah. Yes.
It's like, it doesn't matter. Buy it anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's a 9.
Yeah.
Well, unless it's cost you an arm and a leg, but still, yeah.
But talking about other whiskies from Tobermory, the Leche Rioja cask, the Sinclair series,
Which is
that was
for how good it is.
incredible.
£35 a bottle.
Yeah.
Just for the last 18 months to 2 years, every single person that asks me what's the best value for whiskey at the moment.
I kind of feel like maybe we shouldn't talk about it, because if it gets too popular, then we'll start driving the price up.
Do not
Gotta
buy
keep that
it.
a secret.
And all just because it's got an OE statement, and the guys at Tobermory who own it think that an OE statement's not, didn't have the same value on the market, and I think it's one of the best whiskies they make.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
really good.
I think it's almost as good as their Leche 18, and obviously the price difference is, I think you can buy 3 bottles of the Sinclair to one of the 18. The 18 is very nice, but if you start putting cost in it, the Rioja cask is
True. But it's not as good as the Leche 27-year-old.
no, not much is.
Fair. Yes. Fair enough. That's true. By the way, just to perhaps a very gentle explanation on Paul, as you mentioned that you've have just 600 plus whiskies on that you have given scores, and you've marked and probably double that you have not. Paul runs the Black Horse in Amberley, which is an amazing pub with the best views of the valley as well.
It's fantastic.
Amazing Sunday roast. Crazy chef that also likes his whiskey.
Yeah. There's a lot of it. High Angel share at the Black Horse.
Yeah, the evaporation there is very strong too.
And we both brew at the Village Inn just around the corner as well. So it's sort of pub ownership, brewing on the side.
Yes.
I say amateur brewing at a commercial level.
Yes. Well, and
Probably like the best whiskey bar
in the
Black
Cotswolds,
Horse.
in
certainly
Gloucestershire,
that I've.
in 100 miles radius.
Yeah.
We had a guy that came in last night and they'd been drinking all day. I went, they got there about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they were still there at 11 o'clock when we were closing up. He found the whiskey collection around about 10 o'clock. And we sold quite a few shots of whiskey to those guys. We got the Springbank.
Oh, the local barley.
The local barley.
Nice.
Had that, and they were enamoured, which they should be, because it was
Oh
fantastic.
yeah, it's amazing.
That was incredible.
Yeah, it's when people who do like whiskey find it, they go, "Wow, what a collection!"
Yeah. Well, it's just about 100 odd bottles in the collection behind the bars. It's pretty amazing.
Back to 105 now.
There you go.
Yeah. We dipped down for a bit. We only had 96. We went back again.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, as we barbecued our way through Tobermory, had an amazing time with them, but we had to leave and take the ferry across to was it Fishnish?
Yeah.
From Fishnish, and then up to Drimmin. Very unusual. Well, not unusual. You are in the Western Highlands, where it's very sparsely populated, driving to some unbelievable, beautiful scenery. And as you go north from the little fishing port village, we about 30-odd minutes drive north until you get to Drimmin, and there's an amazing estate there where Nick Nean is based on. Shane was again pulling out the kettle barbecue and preparing some pretty mean, delicious food. So you had the whiskey mussels, which were quite delicious.
Nick Nean was a highlight for me because we cooked a load of food.
Yes.
So I did some whiskey mussels with like a creamy tarragon sauce. The cedar plank trout with some gorse blossom.
Yeah, which we picked from down the hill from the distillery itself.
Yeah. And then we did the venison loin that was wrapped in wild garlic that we picked on the way in. And what else was there? Was it the three?
You've done some asparagus.
We did some asparagus and maybe some spuds or something as well. But it was really fun to do all that. But one thing we were doing at all the distilleries that I cooked out was incorporating some of their whiskey in the dishes, and the trout was a particular favorite of mine. I thought that worked really, really well. And when we left, you actually helped arrange a bottle for this when I got back. And I've already...
The anger is very strong at your household too.
There's about a thumb left of it. It is so good.
It's a bit upsetting saying it says on the top only 303 bottles. And you're like, well...
302 now.
I also, Tobermory was obviously the first one we went to and a fantastic trip, but Nick Nean was also such a highlight of that trip. It was a beautiful setting.
Yeah,
it was
really
amazing
cool day as well, sunny and lovely.
The tour that they gave us was so cool, and all the points they make about sustainability and trying to lower their carbon impact as much as possible, even to the fact when you go around to the pot stills and all the staff were warming their lunch on the pot still.
Up on the pot still, that's true, that's hilarious.
It's really cool.
Yeah, powered by a biomass boiler, B Corp certified,
Yeah.
recycle 99+% of everything that they use at a distillery. Pretty stunning. The idea, with the fact that it was from the ground up built to be a sustainable distillery, using only organic malt as well. It's brilliant. And it is quite fun. It is a distillery that is trying to basically showcase a different side of whiskey. It's not so much about very old whiskies and a lot of cask influence and so on. There's a lot of brightness, more floral, fruitier, much more playful whiskey in a way, which is quite fun. And
from the new make, it's exactly it's through
I almost
abundance.
thought the new make to me almost tasted like it was really floral, somewhat like a mellowed down gin in a way. It was really nice, and as a result, I feel like their whiskey is almost borderline cocktail. It's really light, and you can drink it on a hot summer's day, and you're not.
They promote a lot of that side of whiskey as well. It's not to drink just by itself, but you can play with it. You can make a whiskey soda. You can use in cocktails and so on.
The original bottle came out with, and on the packaging it was like, try this with 50-50 with tonic or whatever it was. It was or spring water, something else, but it was definitely different. And also talking about from where they started to now, I think the jump they've made in such a amount of time is staggering. I have to be honest, when we had the inaugural release, I really didn't like it at all. It was like a bit bitter. It's not really, I don't think it's all there yet. And then you showed me the
Gordon
fruit explosion.
I think it was the Quiet Rebels. Gordon. Or Lorna, which was the one that they've used 2 different types of white wine yeast and 2 different types of red wine yeast onto the fermentation itself, and that created such an intense tropical fruit bomb. It was really
so
amazing.
this was the first distillery I ever heard about using different yeasts influence on it like that, and it was it makes all the difference, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Different yeasts, different strains of yeast will bring out different characters out of the barley and encourage certain flavors and so on. So there's a lot of people using, obviously beer yeast is quite a common one. But then you've got champagne yeast, wine yeast. It's the more people are playing with that side of it, the more we're benefiting from by then having delicious stuff.
Definitely the younger distilleries are having to, because they've got to set themselves. I mean, if you go to a traditional distillery, it's single grain, and it's not single grain, single malt, and then single yeast, all the same every single time.
Yeah.
And then you start going to the new ones, and they've got different mash bills. They're making up with different types of malt in it, and then different types of fermentation and like different yeast. And it's
crazier cask exploration. A fair amount of STR is used, which this one is as well. STR being shaved, toasted, recharred, which is a type of thing that you can do in the barrel that basically you extracting more flavors and tannins and color out of it in a shorter period of time.
One of my favourites. I love STR.
Yeah.
Almost to an unhealthy addiction to red wine and STR casks. I really shouldn't. I get a bit carried away.
I actually had a little bit of a lesson on it this weekend. I was doing a barbecue course, and there's a guy who buys old whiskey barrels and from different regions like Highlands and Speyside, and chops them into wood chunks for selling for wood-fired cooking. And he was talking about how the different levels of jarring bring out, different flavors like vanillin and things like that. And when we were putting them on, we did a steak tasting where we had all the different types of wood that he had brought and cooked the exact same steak the exact same way on each of them. And I had always thought that like whiskey chips, they're all oak, they're all gonna impart the same thing, but there's so much variation. The Speyside one, you could smell the vanilla in the smoke as it was coming off and taste it on the steak at the end. It was incredible. It was really, really nice.
Well, if you're going to be doing that blind tasting with whiskies that are scoring 5 or lower, can at least have a bit to go with it. So I can, soak up the mad flavors that I'm going to. Well, shall we get attacking this little bottle of Un, which is, it's written Aon, but it's pronounced Un. It's Gaelic for one, which is a single cask Nicnean. This is cask 460, so 18 460, 18 being the distillery or the distillate year, so distilled in 2018, and 460 being the number of the barrel. 303 bottles. There you go. Yes, some seasoning. There you go. 303 bottles made, and this particular one is aged in a STR X red wine, and it is a distillery exclusive. Again, it's the one that you can only buy if you go to the distillery, and at the shop you are rewarded with having access to this beautiful little case whiskey. I say case because maybe a case has come back in the boot of the car. Sorry for that. Not sorry.
There's not a lot of space in that car.
No. We chucked away a barbecue.
I felt for you guys in the back.
Chucked away the barbecue in favor of getting more bottles back.
Gifted. It was perfectly
Gifted. Sorry.
Can we briefly touch on the sea shanties and the disparities?
The sea shanties. That was one of the highlights of the trip.
That was brilliant.
Attila and I both love a sea shanty. Yes. I spent 2.5 years at sea working on tall ships, so I know a fair few. And Attila is probably the only other grown adult not part of the sailing world that I know who
really
enjoys
likes
the sea shanty.
Yeah, I do attend once a month. There's a session at the Albert up in Stroud, and it's a lovely group. And I like the idea of singing, even though my singing is not as good as my idea of singing. And sea shanties are brilliant. So
it's good because they were designed for people who I imagine were not very good at singing.
It was quite a experience. The thing is, you two knew all of them, and so the energy coming from the front of the car was extreme. And all of us in the back were just like going, no idea what's going on.
Edward, that's quite car sick or hungover, I'm not sure.
Oh yes,
who quickly fell asleep, and
how she fell asleep through the singing was mind-boggling. Which I think she had a bit car sickness, didn't she? Yeah.
We'll call it car sickness.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it was car sickness, but.
Well, less of that, more of this. So it's just about 7 years old ish.
And that's really surprised me for like how full and rich it is. It's really young.
Well, they're only doing about, what did they say, 100,000 litres a year?
Yeah.
That was the goal, and they haven't really got much. much desire to grow much more than that either.
Yep.
So focus on the quality, doing it in an organic way, in a as renewable way as possible.
Well, once we were there, we tasted so many crazy different single cask releases. They had this very sexy bar full of crazy single casks, and that we had a white Bordeaux cask, which was stunning.
that was so good.
I can't believe I haven't bought that yet. Every time you bring it up, I'm like, oh, what am I doing? I need to buy that because it came out, didn't it?
Yeah. And then there was ex-rum, ex-cognac, various different types of casks, a lot of cask experimentation, which is quite fun. I've got a Tokai barrel at home. Not a barrel, an ex-Tokai cask, which is brilliant. Yeah, quite fun.
That Bordeaux one was...
I
I enjoyed this, and obviously I bought the bottle, but I think that Bordeaux one was
I
better.
forgot about it until you just mentioned it. It was
Yeah. So these both got 8s. So that one and the Bordeaux one got 8s, but the Bordeaux one got a star next to it.
Bye.
Both find this bottle.
the thing that's quite cool about them is like
amazing.
I think maybe it's because I'm quite new to whiskey, but I had always associated like better whiskeys with a higher
Age.
and they completely prove that is not the case.
Age is just a number.
Yeah.
I also think that's a push from the new distilleries because they have to compete.
Yeah.
Like they can't just come out and leave their whiskey in a barrel for 10 years because they're not making money.
True.
So they have to do something that makes their whiskey fun and enjoyable when it's younger. And doing things like playing around with these casks is exactly
different casks, different cheese, different everything, and being innovative.
I mean, two of my favourite distilleries in the last couple of years are all young distilleries. So really enjoy Nicknean now. The first STR version of this that I had about a year and a half ago, and that was my whiskey of the year that year.
Wow!
Because I was like, it's come from this to that. Wow, what an amazing improvement and how fantastic that whiskey tastes. And then the Rassé stuff I love as well. Again, all 5-6 years old, multiple different cask types blended together. Really, so people are having to try something new. I think
It's really cool and enlightening.
light and fruity and
Takes
fun.
takes away from the misconception that people often talk about that whiskey is made in a cask. It's not. Whiskey is raised in the cask as kids go to school and they learn a few things. Whiskey goes into school and learn a few things too, but it's what comes out, the distillate, the yeast, the casks, all of it will play into the making of it. And Nicknean, as is Ardnamurchan and a few other distilleries, the new kids on the block, they are churning out some really stunning, very flavorsome stuff that is 7 years old and pretty delicious and very complete. I don't feel that this misses anything, that it's not. I just had the first sip. It's lovely mouthfeel. There is again that floral, nearly tropicalness to it. There was a nearly coconutty thing to it on the nose, which is delicious. On the palate again, viscosity. It's full. It's playful. Lots of stuff going on. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's quite delicious.
It's got that. It actually brings me back to like the new make. I think.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten earlier in this that I'd tasted it, and I'm coming back and I'm like, that light, fruity, fun, playful bit, and then like you said, like kind of coconut, creamy kind of flavors in the background. And then,
as you mentioned, the coconut, that was like a flavor. I was like, this is really familiar, but what is it? And that's exactly it. It's got like that kind of sweet macaroon, biscuity kind of toasted coconut flavor. It's really nice. But equally, there's something that kind of. Have you ever had a Jolly Rancher?
No.
It's like an American sweet, and it reminds me slightly of a raspberry Jolly Rancher.
are they sour?
Okay.
No,
No,
they're very sweet.
Very sweet.
Okay.
It's kind of like a sticky boiled sweet.
Right.
And there's like a hint of that in this.
Cool.
It's
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of, really enjoy it. Every time I taste it, I'm like, oh, it's lovely.
Yes.
And it's summer afternoon, especially this time of the year, like that. If you had a nice patio or whatever deck, sit out on that in the garden and have a glass of this, you wouldn't be too far wrong.
Yeah.
It's so different to the first one.
Yes.
There's like big, heavy, fabulous flavour, and this is like light, fruity, and
very playful.
yeah.
Quite delicious. Well, good representation of the little flora and fauna that is on the bottle itself.
Yeah, I mean, the
Beautifully
bottles
cut.
are beautiful, aren't they?
Yeah.
And if they
You
could do some t-shirts, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I would buy t-shirts and glassware.
Hoodie as well. He loves
I'd like
hoodies.
a
There
hoodie.
you go.
The lady in the shop was like, "We really should do that." It's like, you absolutely should, because I would have bought one for me, the missus, and other people, because I think they would have loved it. It's such a beautiful design.
And I think like carrying the branding through, because they did the beanies when we were up there, but it was just the name, but like the artwork is incredible.
Yeah.
If we had more time when we were up there, that blue kettle with the painting the plants on the outside would have been a...
Well, so they did the water bottle. And I
Yes,
bought that
which
back
I have.
for the wine.
awesome. Yeah, I
and
forgot about that.
Debbie loved it. She was like, "That's my new favourite water bottle. It's beautiful." It's like, she's almost lost it at school twice, but that's fine.
That's normally my kid that does that. They always come. Well, yeah. Anyway, let's not go there. Well, delicious.
Yeah.
Properly
yeah.
delicious.
It brings a smile
So-
to everyone's face, doesn't it?
Yeah, there you go.
Like,
What would you score this then, Shane?
I think I would give this a solid 8 again.
Yeah, good. Paul? Yeah. Oh.
yeah, it was 8 then, it's an 8 now.
Yeah. And I'd say, again, solid 8, very solid 8. And £90, £95.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Great value, proper delicious whiskey. Again, pop it open. Nearly want to say, okay, it is cask strength, so 57.1%, but it's nearly a session whiskey.
Yeah.
When I say good value, though, that's the other thing, because a lot of people watching and listening to this will think £90 for a bottle of whiskey, that's a lot of money. And it is, but a lot of the other guys are doing releases like this at least £30-40 more expensive than this.
Yeah.
I know they're a bit older, that's fine, but it's it's limited bottles, 300 bottles at a time. It's a lot of fun while it lasts, and it is better than a £45, £50 bottle of whiskey.
Like miles.
Easy.
Yeah.
So I think it's good value for money, but it would probably be someone's maybe once a year purchase.
Yeah,
So it's difficult.
I also feel like, even though I managed to go through most of it in 2 weeks, it is easy to eke it out. When I was finding it hard not to have one every evening until I got to, shit, it's almost gone. But a little goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I'm an advocate for quality over quantity. So even if you have to break the piggy bank, save a little bit, just don't drink more, drink better.
Yeah.
I would
This
much
is a
rather
great
have
example.
one of these than, 5 supermarket whiskies.
Yeah.
Oh, although they are actually in a supermarket, so that's not a fair statement.
Not this one, the
No,
regular
no,
release,
regular
but
release,
yes.
yeah. And the regular release is very nice as well.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, that is a different ballgame. Well, kudos to the guys. Well,
Yeah.
in.
Oh,
Well done,
thank you.
guys.
It's great.
Delicious.
Slash.
No.
Every last drop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It is delicious.
Right. So Ardnamurchan.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So on the way up from
from
Nicknean to
Sorry.
Ardnamurchan is technically 5.1 miles.
was it
If you flew,
quick trip, wasn't it?
if you flew or took a boat, but otherwise it's a bit of a drive, which takes an hour and 45
Took a long time.
Was that
through
all it took?
some of the most beautiful landscape in
But
Scotland.
But
But
single lane,
it's a single lane.
only passing points. How they take the big trucks up and down there, I have no idea. It must be a nightmare. I bet it's like a straw lot for those delivery drivers. Like, I'm not doing Ardnamurchan this time.
It's like those people crossing the frozen bits in Canada and
Like the ice truckers.
exactly. It's the equivalent but in Scotland. Well, at Ardnamurchan, which is lovely, again, new-ish distillery, 2014, owned by the Adelphi distillers that have been in the game, I think, since 1928, if I'm not mistaken. So
1928.
I know a thing or two about whiskey.
Yeah.
Well, the distillery itself is from 2014, but
Yeah.
Adelphi, they do independent bottling, and they've been playing the whiskey game for quite a long time. So it explains how Ardnamurchan in such a short period of time has got such an amazing reputation, because the whiskies are pretty sexy as well. They do both unpeated and peated malts in there, which is quite fun. We had slightly moody staff as we got to the distillery.
I got into trouble
You got into trouble.
for trying to buy something.
Yes.
There you go.
Why are you spending money with them? Oh, that's true.
You've picked up the wrong size. I was like,
Exactly.
I picked it up off the right. Oh no. Okay, I'm sorry. I do apologise. It's too hot for that today. I was hoping to be in my luminescent orange Ardnamurchan hoodie today,
Oh, there
but
you go.
unfortunately it was just. I did put it on. And I was like, no, it's got to come off.
We had, in the end, we ended up having a pretty nice tour.
Yeah.
Saw the bits of the distillery, and as most tours end at the bar, so did ours. And we tested the Ardnamurchan core, which is very accomplished, really good whiskey. And then after a little bit of a chat, we ended up tasting quite a few other things.
Yeah.
We tested the Sauterne cask one. We tested the Madeira cask, which is superb.
that was
45% peated malt,
Yeah.
55 unpeated, aged in Madeira cask. Delicious, dangerously drinkable stuff. And as it happens, some of the distilleries have a little barrel by the counter that you can then have your hand fills, which this one is. So this was, the Black Horse bottling. 7-year-old Ardnamurchan, cask number 414. PX, so first fill PX or refill PX?
They weren't.
I think it's a refill PX.
Yeah.
By the color of it, it must be a refill PX. Filled on the 1st of April. So is it a joke or not? Is it a lie?
So by refill PX, you mean like the second time since the Pedro Jimenez was in it? So it's had whiskey batch in it once before, yeah?
Yes,
Or maybe
exactly.
twice before. Sometimes they can use a cask up to 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
But normally, for something you would think in the shop, probably the second fill.
Second
Yeah.
fill.
Because the colours, I mean,
It's
it's
not
not
that
lovely and
dark
golden,
for
but it's not very
PX.
dark and red, is it? Yeah.
This is one that I picked up when we were there, and I definitely thought the PX was not as prominent in it as a lot of others that I've had.
Because the theme over the trip was that Shane is a PX man.
Yes,
I love it.
loves his sticky sweetness.
Yeah.
Basting his
Kinda like
barbecue with
barbecue
everything.
sauce, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Oh. Maybe that's the thing. We need to do a PX glaze
Yeah.
something.
You used to be able to get it at Waitrose easy enough, and I haven't had it for like a year now.
What, PX?
Yeah.
Well, it's because they're throwing it all away and then selling the whiskey barrels to the whiskey industry. Not whiskey barrels, they're sherry barrels. But yeah. I mean, they literally do that.
Do they?
Yeah, they make it, put it in a barrel, and then either turn it into vinegar or throw it away.
Yeah, the
and
vinegar
sell,
was really
and sell the
popular.
barrels back to the whiskey industry because the demand for them is so high.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Kilholman, I don't know if he was exaggerating, but he said when we were there, the most expensive sherry cask they'd bought was £5,000.
Wow.
And he said, like, that's...
But it was a full cask. As in with the liquid.
It came with liquid, yeah. But so he reckoned that the cask would still be worth almost £2,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which he said, 10 years before, he'd buy a sherry cask for £200. And so at 10 times that,
Wow.
almost doubling, every year. Ridiculous. Because the demand is so high.
Yeah.
But also the quality, so it depends on where it comes from. obviously.
Pedro Jimenez is delicious, though. Why's that not more of a popular...
Because you can only have a small glass of it, and then
I mean,
if
most
you have
people only have a small glass of whiskey as well.
if you're talking about whiskey in a PX cask, it's different. If you have just PX, most of it is 200 plus grams of residual sugar per liter. So you have a glass, and by the time you're having a second glass, your heart is going.
Yeah, true.
I never thought about that. It's
Yeah,
a lot of sugar,
I
isn't it?
Yes, some of it is 500. On average, it's
wow.
about 300 odd grams of residual sugar
No wonder why.
per liter. So you pour it out, and it's like black treacle.
Well, that doesn't explain it. That means it should be more popular.
Well,
With the kids, it should,
lot of-
it should be sherry and Red Bull, shouldn't
Yeah.
it?
it would get kids running like mad. Maybe that's what you need a shot of that because before you go for a marathon.
The young man down the end of the table is giggling at mine.
Yeah.
Oh,
What's your
people
drink
do
of
use.
choice?
I drink.
Yeah. If you're going out, are you going for whiskey or are you going for a Pedro Jimenez and Red Bull?
Stick on the whiskey. I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I think we should all
Good
stick
choice.
to whiskey.
I'm going to try and push it in one of the pubs to see what I
Dude,
get.
it's Black Horse, I
So
reckon, you know.
I'll get some really nice PX in and have a chaser of Red Bull.
Yeah.
Or instead, if you just get a tub of ice cream, get Häagen-Dazs vanilla ice cream,
Yeah,
scoop,
it's delicious on ice.
scoop out of thing, put a little bit of PX on top. It does the job nicely.
It's quite nice with a sorbet.
Is it?
Yeah, so I had it instead. So what's the thing called? You do gin and sorbet? So they got a name?
Oh no, vodka and lemon sorbet, which is Colonello.
Oh, okay. I've only ever had
Colonel.
gin, but when we were in Switzerland, got introduced to that. But yeah, so you can do the sorbet and PX. That would be quite nice.
Yeah.
It's a whole day to spend buying PX bottles. Trying to
It's
reach
not here.
anything.
They will be happy if it happens
Yeah,
because
anything
they
I can do
can't
to
sell it.
rejuvenate the industry.
Yeah. Oh, I sell sherry, but I don't sell PX because unfortunately not enough people drink it. But thankfully we use the casks and age whiskey in it, and it's quite delicious. So keep coming.
See,
This is it is a pitted, but it's quite light.
Yeah, it's definitely light on the peat, but it's still definitely in there.
I don't think I'd get it on the nose. I know when I tried it when we opened the bottle when we got back, definitely tasted it on the palate, but yeah, I suppose a bit of light bit of smoke in the background.
I think compared to the other ones that we've had as well, it's
You get it on the palate too.
it's more of a sort of traditional whiskey taste than the other distilleries we went to. Whereas the other felt like really fruity and summery and sweet. This one's a bit more like
autumn whiskey.
Yeah.
Autumn/winter.
leather,
By the fire, yeah.
wood.
I really like this.
yeah.
And I know you kind of
It's good. It's just not. When we were there and I tried it, I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
And when I got back, it didn't quite hold up to when I first tried it.
I
But
think you might have rubbed off because when I didn't try it when we were there because I was busy getting more
water.
water,
Getting told off.
surviving and getting told off.
Yeah.
Because I was going to buy it whatever happened. I
Yeah.
didn't need to try it because I was like, well, look, I'm gonna get a bottle for the pub whatever happens. And you were so like, oh, it's fantastic. I was like, I definitely need to try it
Yeah.
now. I'll take a bottle. Thank you very much. And when I first tasted it when I got back, I was like, yeah, leathery, like sweet, creamy, kind of traditional whiskey thing, but like a little bit turned up. I thought it was really nice.
Maybe my enthusiasm was after the tasting we had as well.
And that's it, isn't it? So
Yeah.
when you had
Six
whatever,
whiskeys
6 or 7 whiskeys.
Yeah.
Everything is good.
Yay! It sounds like I'm knocking it, but I'm not. It is still a very, very good whiskey. It's just not as good as I remembered it when we were up there.
When was it? It was like one of the first times I went to Bristol Whiskey Festival, and like first time I've been to a whiskey festival as well. And so I think we tried something like 20 whiskies. I was done. Like there was no saving me. We had to have food, we had to break, come back in. I had Dalwhinnie 25 while I was there. And I think at that point in time, I thought it was the best whiskey I'd ever had. It's probably after 12 of the whiskies first.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that expensive at the time. I think it was about £200 a bottle. And for my birthday, I saved up, and my dad, my mum clearly, because my dad doesn't buy birthday presents. That's not the way it works. My mum bought me a bottle, and I got it. I was like, oh, this is going to be amazing. Oh, it's okay. Like, it's really nice. It's a beautiful 25-year-old whiskey, but I remember it being like the whiskey that cut through everything else on the day. And it was like just beautiful, full-rounded, fruity. And
I think that's almost how it went on the trip, because we were having all those sweeter, fruitier ones with red wine cask and stuff. And this one felt more what I traditionally think of as a Scotch whiskey.
I'll consider there's a level of peat in there, so slightly smoky. It's a sherry cask PX, but the refill one,
and I do
it
really
is
like,
more old school flavored in a way.
And I really like a peated whiskey as well. So smoke is a flavor.
What is this then for you?
I'd probably put it at like a 6.5 to 7. Yeah.
Okay. 7 it means that you still kind of like it.
I definitely like it.
according to my score.
I would take this over a lot of stuff I have on my whiskey shelf.
Okay.
I would.
We
Yeah.
need to improve your whiskey show.
Yeah. We can work on that. That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a solid 7. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it's because I was there, it's that memory thing with the bottle, and maybe the first time I tasted it, Shane rubbed off on me when I got home. It was like, I'm expecting great things, and I felt like I got great things. So I don't know. I quite enjoy it.
Yeah,
It's lovely.
I think I'm with you on that 7 as well. It is good. It's well made, very accomplished, especially again for being young-ish at 7 years old. 65 quid.
Yeah, it was.
shop?
It's a smaller
60,
bottle.
65,
right?
although it is a
It's a
50
smaller
CL.
bottle,
It is a
yeah.
50 CL. It's not 75.
So I suppose it's the equivalent of 80, 90. But again,
Yeah.
because it's 60% ABV, you can do
Yeah,
the
cask
math.
strength, single
you can
cask, and yeah.
You can keep doing the math however you like.
Yeah.
Gets better value for money the more times you do the math.
Yeah.
Water
Shall we
it down
put
a
a
bit.
tariff on them as well?
I hope not.
Like 104. Are they one of the Chinese-owned distilleries? Is that going to be 145%?
Well, one of the amazing things when we went to see them was that view post the distillery tour. We started to drive up, and then we found this pile of.
Well, don't say that because the farmer will get cross.
Oh, sorry. We found nothing. We did not.
Did not.
We found a very beautifully well-bound, expertly positioned rolls of, was it haylage?
Yeah, yeah.
And
We may have climbed those. No, we didn't. And it was just beautiful.
we got out our high-vis vest.
And end of the
We had
afternoon.
steel toe cap shoes and a hard hat.
PPE was on.
PPE was on. We were not drinking whiskey.
Held the
Enjoying the
ladder
view.
for each of you when you went up.
Exactly.
3 points of contact.
Exactly.
I've got to be honest, that photo I think it just epitomises the trip.
Yeah.
Like sort of stood up behind in PPE, fully secure, not drinking whiskey, and everyone just sat there relaxed, whiskey in hand, looking out at the view.
Yeah,
And it's
of the
just-
Ardnamurchan Peninsula
Absolutely
and
beautiful.
Mull on one side, Drimmin on the other, and the whole peninsula of Ardnamurchan and the body of water around. It's just unreal how beautiful that place of the country
and
is.
watching like the wind come across the lake and like just the way it was affecting the wind, the waves, and I felt like the sky was almost like a lava lamp. How quickly the clouds and everything were changing there. It was an ethereal setting.
It was. It was.
Ardnamurchan was a bit of a weird, bit more of a commercial venue, there wasn't it?
Yeah,
Like
it was.
you could see the I don't know what the litre. I don't know how much the production was. Maybe 300,000, something like that. A bit more than that.
I can't recall, but it was by far. I mean, the other two didn't really. We didn't get to see Nick Neen's warehouse, and we didn't. We didn't get to see
It's off-
Tobermore's because
off-site.
it wasn't there. So it was the first warehouse we saw, and
That was the double warehouse.
Yes.
wasn't
yeah,
it?
but we didn't go upstairs. But you know, he gave us a description of it.
Yes, the
Looked
molten floor.
Yeah. But yeah, it was much bigger and very new and very shiny compared to the others.
Yeah. Actually, it looked shiny.
Yeah.
Compared to only being 10 years old, you thought it looked like it just rolled off the production line.
Yeah,
It just maintained that so well.
Did love their logo as well. That they had,
yes, with the little dancing man,
Scotsman. Yeah, Highlander. It was cool.
Great. Yeah.
Well, especially if you drink a few of those, you get dancing.
Yeah.
So just to wrap up, the little
Sorry, the other night I got quite drunk. I had one of my friends over.
5 days,
Shameful.
5 days a
Shameful.
week, you mean?
Yeah, 5 days a week. And on YouTube, I'd obviously looked up some sea shanties when we got back, and that particular sea shanty came on. I was me at like
Yeah, well
3 o'clock in the morning, totally drunk, singing along to it. Just on my own in the office.
Soon may the Wellerman come.
And I put this, and I did it again because I put the subtitles on to work out what all the words were, and I still couldn't sing them all.
That one got really popular a few years ago. There was like some. What is it?
During the COVID,
Yeah.
sorry, I
All
forgot the
over
name
the-
of the guy, but a guy that basically something Evans.
Yeah, he's Irish,
Evans.
isn't he?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Who then came up with a sea shanty book, and because of basically lockdown, singing sea shanties and stuff went viral, which was brilliant. And
Maybe we should pick a shanty to end on.
To end your favourite shanty section.
Yeah, we might need to practice it before we do the next episode. But,
maybe get Paul to do this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ring the bell.
It's
That's
not
a good one for
It's
Paul.
not, it's not 3:30 in the morning, though, is it? And I've not been drinking since 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's when the best sea shanties
Well,
come
that's
out.
when you needed the confidence to sit there on my own.
Yeah.
3 o'clock in the morning. Debbie came down the next morning. She was like, "Were you singing last night?" No.
So at the end of that little Ardnamurchan, well, the 3-day trip, 2-day trip. Well, it was a 4-day trip,
4 days.
bookended by a lot of driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of the second day, we did a little visit to the lighthouse, just at the tip of the peninsula, which arguably it was the most westerly point in mainland Scotland, but then
What, like maybe an eighth of a mile down the coast, there is a rock that went out like a foot further, or something
It's
like
like
that.
a foot. We checked it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like 30 centimetres further than
Yeah.
close, but you can't get to it.
Yeah.
You can't drive there. Where so this is classed as the most westerly point you can get drivable.
Yeah.
I'll take that as the
Yeah.
most westerly point in Scotland. And we watched the sunset. There's a beautiful lighthouse nearby. We were guided there by a sheep.
Yeah. That's about it.
In
He was good.
the middle of the road. just
Someone
sliding
knew the way there at least. And Paul very kindly opened his a bottle of Ardnamurchan, a single cask. It was a PX cask.
It was a
as well,
PX
a
cask, yeah.
peated PX.
Yeah, bottled for
Bottled
the little, not the little green wine shop's not called that anymore. What's it called now?
Tindrum. Yeah.
Tindrum whiskey, and picked by
Joe
Joe
and
her manager or her
sorry, I
friend.
forgot the name of the manager.
But
But Joe, who is lovely, and she worked with me, and she worked with you,
Yeah,
and she's an
absolutely.
amazing lass. So she's
Yeah.
Joe.
yeah,
Sure,
And,
and she picked well because that cask was lovely.
that
Yeah,
cask was
that's
lovely.
really good.
Yeah.
I rated that above the.
Yeah, so did I, yeah, so did I as well. I think that's the nicest Ardnamurchan on the trip, apart from the Madeira cask.
Oh, the Madeira cask.
Yeah, the
She's
Madeira cask
stunning.
was- yeah,
Stunning.
fantastic.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Shame that we didn't try the mezcal cask. They didn't have any there
No.
to sell,
Yeah.
to taste, because they had sold out.
I don't know that I've had
Still
any
some
of
in
those.
here, but yeah.
Oh, you've got a mezcal.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
that's a new baby.
Is it? Okay, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Need the bottles to take on a trip. We'll see what happens.
Well, shall we just wrap it up anyway? So,
Yeah.
well, guys, thank you for joining us through the Small podcast with me, Athila.
Me, Paul Sugden.
Athila Roos, Paul Sugden, Shane
Shane
McBagley.
McBagley.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thanks. I've got left. It's
Cheers.
fine.
Just grab a bottle from the shelf. Now.